Hello 4C1, Teacher Jesse here again with another lesson. Today's lesson is going to be on the zero conditional, okay? So let's get started. I'm going to show you a video, and as you see this video, you're going to watch someone put some ice into a hot saucepan. And I want you to think, what happens to the ice when it goes into the hot saucepan? So watch now, here we go. So obviously, if you put ice in a hot saucepan, the ice melts. Everyone knows that. The important thing to know is that this sentence here is an example of zero conditional. So, zero conditional, what's that? Conditional means that something only happens if something else happens. The ice melts if you put it into the saucepan, okay? And conditional means that the verbs used in the sentence are going to be in the form of present simple. Not in the past tense, not in the future tense, but in the present tense. All right. And there are actually two ways to correctly write the same conditional sentence. So we're going to look at those two ways now. Let's look at something else. So what happens if you heat water to 100 degrees Celsius? Who knows? What happens? That's right. If you heat water, it boils, right? If you heat water to 100 degrees Celsius, it will boil. Let's look at this sentence here. This is one form that we can write our zero conditional in. So in this form, we have an if on the left-hand side. If you heat water, and on the right-hand side we have what happens. It boils. For this type of zero conditional, where the if is on the left, we must separate the if from what happens by a comma, okay? Let's look at another type of sentence that we can use in order to say the same exact thing. So, what happens if you heat water to 100 degrees Celsius? Water boils if you heat it, right? So, in this sentence here, we have our what happens on the right side, or on the left side, sorry. And then on the right side, we have our if. In this type of sentence here, we do not need a comma. When our what happens is on the left and our if is on the right, no comma. We only need a comma when the if is on the left and the what happens is on the right. Let's look at another sentence here. What happens if you hit glass? Who knows? Say it out loud. That's right. If you hit glass, it breaks. Here again we have our if on the left side, so we need a comma. And then we have our what happens, well, it breaks. Our what happens is on the right side. Another example here. What happens if you flip the switch? What happens if you flip the light switch? Well, we all know that the light switch is on if you flip the switch. Here you can see that our what happens is on the left and our if is on the right, so we do not need a, that's right, we do not need a comma. We only need a comma when if is on the left. Okay, so we have two kinds of sentences here. We have one where our if is on the left and we need a comma, and then we have our what happens. The other kind is our what happens is on the left, if is on the right, and we have no comma, okay? Let's take a closer look at some important parts of this sentence. So, The if part of the sentence we are going to call the if clause. So from now on, if I say the if clause, I mean the if part of the sentence. Whenever we have the if clause on the left, remember, we have to have a comma in our sentence. And then the what happens part, we call the main clause. So, if our if clause is on the right and our main clause is on the left, we do not need a comma. We only need the comma when the if clause is on the left and the main clause is on the right. Okay, are you with me so far? So, the if clause is the part of the sentence that states if something happens. The main clause tells what happens, okay? The glass breaks, the ice melts, the water boils, right? So we have the if clause, the main clause, and yes, of course, we also have the Santa Claus. We cannot forget about him. Okay, so remember that when we are talking about the zero conditional, one of the important things to remember is that our verbs must be in the present simple. And here's a little bit of a closer look at the form of both of our zero conditional sentences. So at the top here, you see that we have our if clause on the left. When we have our if clause on the left, we have if, present simple, present simple. So, if you eat, you are not hungry. Eat is in the present simple, are is in the present simple. On the bottom here, we have our if clause on the right. And here is our form, present simple, if clause, present simple. You are not hungry if you eat. Again, are is present simple, eat is present simple. Something that you've noticed that I haven't mentioned yet is the word when. Okay, for these zero conditional sentences, we can use when just like we use if. I can say, if you eat, you are not hungry. I can also say, when you eat, you are not hungry. Just like I can say, you are not hungry. If you eat, I can also say, you are not hungry when you eat. Okay, let's practice. We have some words here. We need to rearrange these words in order to form a zero conditional sentence. You have 5 seconds on the clock to figure out the correct answer, starting now. Okay, so the correct answer to this sentence should be, if my mom doesn't water the plants, they die. That's right, plants need water. If you don't give them water, they die. So, if clause on the left, main clause on the right, so we need a comma. Let's look at another example. All right, so we have a traffic light, we have some drivers. You have 5 seconds to arrange these words into a correct sentence, starting now. Okay, so our correct answer should be, when drivers see a red light, they stop. Okay, so we have here our if clause. We have the word when, not the word if, but same thing. On the left side, comma, then our main clause on the right side. Remember, our main clause tells what happens. Next sentence, we have some blue and red paint on the left, some purple paint on the right. You have 5 seconds to rearrange these words, starting now. Okay, so our sentence should be, if you mix red and blue, you get purple. Did you get that answer too? All right, great job. Next sentence, here we have some grass, we have some rain, we have some wet grass. Okay? So again, rearrange these words into a correct sentence starting now. our sentence should read, if it rains, the grass gets wet. Our if clause on the left, our comma in the middle, our main clause on the right. Now notice we have some verbs here, gets and rains. These verbs are in the present simple form, right? Remember, we must put our verbs in present simple for the zero conditional. And they must be rains and gets because our subject is it, right? And if our subject is it, we say it rains, we say it gets. Okay, so pay attention, make sure that you know how to use those verbs correctly. All right, we have a sun, we have some butter, we have some melted butter. What happens? Ready, get set, go. So if you leave butter in the sun, it melts, right? The sun's hot, butter melts when it's hot. So if you put butter in the sun, it melts. Okay. We don't want to say, if you leave butter in the sun, it will melt, okay? That's true, and that is not an incorrect conditional sentence, but it is an incorrect zero conditional, because will melt is not present simple. Okay. All right, 4C1, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks again for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.